a spontaneous, unrehearsed, unedited interview with a senior official whose work is concerned with the developing nations of the world. Today's guest, attending a special session of the United Nations, is the President of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, Ziaur Rahman.
I hope that the food aid by other countries will not be affected as a result of this. This is the time where we need support because we are trying to pick up and stand on our feet, and this is the time that our friendly countries got to come forward and give us a helping hand.
In a moment, additional views, opinions and answers to reporters' questions from today's guest on World Chronicle, which is presented by United Nations Radio and Television in cooperation with the UN's Division for Economic and Social Information. Here now is the programme host, news correspondent of the British Broadcasting Corporation, Brian E. Saxton.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of World Chronicle. And here at United Nations headquarters in New York today to interview our guest are three news correspondents. Brennan Jones, correspondent for Interpress Service, the Third World News Agency, Peggy Wilkins of the international staff of the Wall Street Journal, and Prem Shankar Yar, editor, Financial Express, New Delhi. Our guest today, Ziaur Rahman, the President of Bangladesh, was born in 1936. He became a professional soldier at the age of 17 when he joined the army of Pakistan. In 1971, General Ziaur Rahman led the uprising against Pakistan, which resulted in the independence of East Pakistan and the establishment of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Following the change of government in 1975, Ziaur Rahman was appointed deputy and later became chief martial law administrator of Bangladesh. In 1978, Bangladesh held its first ever presidential election, and Ziaur Rahman was elected to office by defeating his nearest rival by some 11 million votes. President Ziaur, we're delighted to have you on this edition of World Chronicle, and here with our first question for you is Mr. Yar of the Financial Express in New Delhi.
Mr. President, the question I have to ask you today concerns your statement this morning to the General Assembly, where, if you'll pardon me using the phrase, you dropped a small bombshell as far as the Group of 77 were concerned. In fact, someone listening to you said that it's rather like the chap who told the king that he had no clothes on. I'm referring, of course, to your suggestion that the OPEC countries should cut the price of oil to the developing countries by 50%. Now, from what I've been seeing, a number of people have this very much on their minds, but the Group of 77 were rather hoping, to keep this within the ECDC, the Economic Cooperation for Developing Countries, and not to air it here. Now, what were your reasons for doing this, and how have you been received?
Well, that's for you to judge how I have been received as far as this is concerned. But countries like ours, the least developed countries, are really badly affected as a result of the general inflation all over the world and the rise in oil price. On the one hand, we are paying far too much price for oil, and on the other hand, we are having to get from the developed countries finished products at higher and higher price. So on the one hand, we are having to pay a much higher bill for oil, and on the other hand, we are having to pay much higher bill for imported products. This has put us off very badly. So we have to find out ways and means by which we can balance up this maladjustment. And it is with this objective that I suggested that the OPEC countries should think of supplying oil at that price level to the least developed countries.
Well, the point is, I think they had rather hoped, if I'm not mistaken, that they would avoid the separation or the isolation of the oil issue or the oil price issue from the other issues of how to recycle in the international liquidity, changes in the representation of various countries on the board of governors of IMF and World Bank, and other issues which are structural in nature. Now, your statement seems to have gone against this trend inside the Group of 77. Would you agree with me on that?
I don't think so. These are all interconnected. The price of oil has direct bearing on all other issues related to economy. and especially to the developing and least developed countries. So I think this is right.
Peggy.
Thank you.
Yes. I'd like to ask you about the commodity agreements. Does Bangladesh stand to gain from those? And what do you think of the prospects for coming to some commodity agreements out of the UN session?
Would you just clearly say what you would like to know?
Okay, the agreements that would stabilize prices of commodities, and I assume that you would benefit through jute, for your jute and for your tea, perhaps other commodities. Can you comment on what the United Nations is about to do in terms of stabilizing commodity prices and how Bangladesh could benefit?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is again very important for us, this commodity price agreement, because we find that for our raw products, countries like us are mainly exporting raw material. And for this, unfortunately, we are getting lesser price or not attractive price. So this has decreased our exports in real value. So if an agreement like this is reached through negotiations and understanding, it is going to help countries like ours reasonably well and keep our export balanced, and we can see beforehand and know how much we can earn from our exports. This will help us in planning our production in the country and our export over a period of substantial time.
And specifically, your exports that would benefit would be jute,